Hello and welcome to our second day of Academy workshops. To get started, we usually go over some logistical items, so let's just get through this real quick. Every effort was made to ensure that the information in today's presentation is complete and accurate at the time. We just really ask that you do not reproduce this. So we do have a few course requirements. One is that you log into your call tracking metrics account, and it's really beneficial if you have two monitors. So one where you can view the presentation, and the other one where you can view the deck. Getting some weird noises. Let me make sure that should take care of it. And also, it's best if you use either the latest version of Chrome or Firefox and that you have pop-ups enabled. So we do also have some assumptions. One is that you have a CTM account that you can work in, and if you do not, you could head over to our website and create an account. And if you are a marketing or a contact center plan, we would suggest creating a sub-account for today's class. Now, this is a week of continuing class, so every day we're actually building onto an account. So I did want to take a quick minute and do a quick overview of what we did yesterday. But first, let's take a quick poll to see how many people actually attended yesterday that are in today's class. All right, looks like most of us are returning from yesterday. So to the 67% returning, welcome back. And to the 33% that did not attend, we are happy to have you. So in yesterday's class, what we did is we created a new call tracking metrics account. It was completely empty, and we covered some real core concepts such as tracking numbers, tracking sources, target numbers, call settings, as well as the tracking code. And then we went in and actually purchased some of the numbers and configured them all here. So we did two tracking sources, one for website and one for Google AdWords. We created target numbers, and then we actually went in and placed a couple of test calls to see how they would route. So we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. Okay. So we actually have a packed schedule today. We get into a lot more exciting features. So we're going to start off by covering call log navigation. We're going to look at call scoring. We're going to look at all the different columns inside of the call log, dial statuses, filters, and exports. We're going to take another look at the soft phone. And then we're going to look at IVRs, transcriptions, keyword spotting, notification, and schedules. So we have a lot to do today. So much like yesterday's class, we're going to start by really defining what all these things are, followed by workshops actually building these things out. So there is a handout section in your GoToWebinar control panel. I did attach a PDF of our working sessions. I would highly recommend downloading that and printing it. If it gives you any trouble, because GoTo loves to give us trouble with our handouts, I did put in the chat a link to our training hub that has the attachments there that you could grab. So let me actually show where that is real quick. So in the case that the attachment or the handouts aren't working, you could head over here, and then this is going to be the deck, and this will be our working sessions. This will also be where I'll be posting the live recording of this class. I haven't posted yesterday's yet, but I will as soon as we're done today, so that'll be up live, and then I'll have today's live as soon as possible as well. So this link should be in your GoToWebinar chat box. All right. And with that said, my name is Jessica Michaels. I'm going to be your presenter today. My role here at Call Tracking Metrix is I'm our Google guru and product coach. So I really specialize in the Google world, and I'm here to also help coach not only our team, but our clients on our product. So if you'd like to, let's connect. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Twitter. So yes. So I always like to start with a little exercise to make sure that everyone can both hear and see me. So if you can see my screen, can you raise your hand on your GoToWebinar control panel? All right, I see hands going up all over the place, so that's good. So that means you must also be able to hear me. So great. In addition to that, we have the questions box. This is a great spot if you have any questions during the webinar to enter them in. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of each section as well at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions in the moment, you could type them in here and then we'll address them as we go. So if you can find the question box, let's see, yesterday we put in our vacations. How about tell me your job position and where you're located? And I already see somebody asked if there's a recording from yesterday. There is. I will be posting that right after this class. And then that will be found in our support hub. And then if you go to the Academy tab at the top, it'll have a link to the recordings as well as the registration for future classes. So it looks like we have a director of marketing from Virginia. Welcome. We have AdWords from Arizona. Welcome. Let's see, we have starting as an intern at a marketing agency on Monday. Hey, welcome. We have an onboarding specialist based in the UK. Welcome. I love our international clients. We have somebody located in Illinois. We have Fairfax. We have some people here in Maryland. Welcome. And some people out of Wisconsin. All right, welcome. It looks like we have found our questions box. So again, if you have any questions during the presentation, let me know. All right, close all these. Oh, and we have somebody from Las Vegas. Welcome. And you're lucky we're all on the East Coast here, and we are hoping for the best when it comes to this storm coming our way. So, all right, well, let's begin. In this first section, we're going to be exploring the call log. We're going to look at things like tags, call scoring, the soft phone, and then we're going to get into some call settings and do some fun stuff with transcriptions, keyword spotting, and talk about the spam detective. All right, so this is going to start off pretty basic, but you'd be surprised how commonly it is that people don't know about our basic navigation and what all these different icons mean. So we are going to define them for you. So up first, we have our filter. So the filter is a great way, it does exactly what it says. You can create a filter inside your call log. You can actually save the filters too so that you can revisit them at any time. You could always use the search. So if you were searching for maybe just calls with campaign data or CPC data, you could type that in. Or if you're looking for a specific caller, say you're looking for a call from John Smith, you could just simply type that in and it will filter all of the calls to those results. Number 3, we have the number of calls. If you click it, it will expand. You have the option to auto load or stop loading the call log. So that pretty self-explanatory. It'll automatically load calls as they come in. Really, the only time I think that it makes sense to stop the auto load is if you're doing reporting stuff. We will have the new calls always come in. So if you're looking at a filtered view and auto load is turned on, those calls will still come into your call log. So that's really a use case when you might want to turn that off so that it's not adding additional calls to the information you're looking at. So you have the ability to have desktop notifications that'll pop up. So things like when you have a new call coming in or a new text message, it'll give you a desktop notification. You can customize those right here. Number 6, you can actually customize the columns that you can view in the call log. So some of the columns might not be that relevant to you, so you can actually disable them. Number 7 here, this is going to be the export of the call log. So we offer a few different formats where you can export it. We'll be covering that later today as well. Number 8 here, this is a receive calls icon, so you can actually start or stop accepting calls at the time. And then number 9 here, this will pop out the soft phone. So we can take a look at what that looks like inside the call log and give you a quick demo of these features. Here we go. So again, here's the filter. We can break up the filter by pretty much any metric that we track. So time, tags, agents, the activity type, tracking sources. We'll be covering this later on today. Same with search. So I can search for any various things. I don't have that many calls, so I don't really need search. This will be my total call count. So we've had 3 calls. Auto load or disable it. Notifications, here's how we can modify what we view. So maybe something like the Metrix isn't important to you, you could disable that. This is pretty common too. So when I'm doing these presentations, very commonly people see different information than what I'm presenting. It could just be that I have things enabled here that you don't. So you could always customize that. And this is going to be unique to the user, not the account. So these are personal settings. This is the call log export. So what's cool about that is you can also filter your export. And then we have some different formattings. You can customize how you want it to be, and then what format. And then let's see, what was our last one? Was the phone. So that will actually be a pop out here, and then we can hit accept calls. So then any of the calls that are routed to my agent will show up here. So I'll actually stop accepting so we don't start ringing in the presentation. Okay. So pretty basic stuff, but it's important to fully understand it. Same with our call log icons. So inside of the call log, we have a bunch of different icons. The yellow phone is going to be, for outbound calls, inbound calls. Anytime you see this notebook, that's going to mean that the call has notes attached to it. The target icon is for when we've detected keyword spotting. So that is something we're going to be covering later. If we're able to recognize the gender of the caller, we will mark those. This is if we have transcriptions enabled and the transcriptions are showing. Oh man, my browser just quit. This should be fun. I do apologize. There's not much we can do in these situations. All right, sorry about that. Not sure what happened. Okay. My other browser shut down too, so bear with me for one moment. Okay, should be good. Okay, back on track. Yeah, did I mention there's a hurricane coming? So things are getting a little crazy here. Okay, where did we leave off? We have the phone with the little check through it. That's going to be if spam has been detected or that call is labeled as spam. And then here we have the score column. We're going to be talking about that in great detail today as well. Okay, so up next we have the column of the contact. So we have the phone icon. If you wanted to call this person back using our soft phone, you can quickly or simply hit the call and it will place an outbound call to this person. The edit button, this will allow you to edit the contact information about this person. This is going to be the caller's name, phone number. This is going to be the location. And then any tags that we associated with this call will show here as well. So in this case, voicemail, need to call back. And we're going to be covering tags pretty in depth today as well. All right, so moving forward, if you actually open the contact column, you're going to see that we're going to have this drop down here. So this is going to be all the basic contact information we get from the caller. The visitor detail is going to be where we can see the session data and any campaign data that we've associated to this caller. We can score the call from here, and this is a way to add a star rating or a conversion amount. We could actually send an email of this call and include things like the transcription and recording of the call. So this is pretty cool for your sales team. So maybe they want to send a follow-up conversation to the person that they just had on the phone and actually include the call that they had with them. The voice analysis, this is going to show the transcription and keyword spotting. This is also where you can listen to the audio recording. And we have a few cool options around here where you could actually speed it up or slow it down. So we have the call flow. This is the path that the call took through the routing. If you're integrated with Salesforce, this will be able to pull the Salesforce fields from that caller. And then if you're using scripts, this will actually populate scripts to help handle the calls. So let's real quick jump into the other screen so that you can see what this looks like live. All right, so we can take this call for example. So you can see that this was an inbound call. And here's all the contact information we were able to pull. Visitor details, so this is going to be where the person called from, as well as where they are on the map. This is where we can score the call. So we could do, this was a 5-star, and we could do a reporting tag. We're going to talk about this a lot more in depth very shortly. This is email. So we could tell it to include the recording, say, who we want to send it to, and, follow up from our call and include a personal message. This is where we can speed up or slow down the recording of the call. And if we had transcriptions turned on, we could actually read the transcription, which we'll be covering later. This is the path the call took. And then if we had any scripts enabled, which we don't at the time. So that is working your way through the contact column and drop downs, which actually really mirrors what we're going to be covering in these next ones, or in these next columns as well. Let's head back over to the slide deck. Okay. So here we have our next two columns. The first one right here is going to be telling us the tracking source we've associated to the caller, and then the actual tracking number that they dialed. Over here, this is going to show the landing page that the caller came in on, as well as the referring source. This is going to be reflecting the search term that the caller used. So this isn't going to be the actual keyword they're bidding on. It's going to be the full search that they entered into the search engine. So number 6 over here, this is going to be the visitor likelihood icon. And then 7 is actually telling us the likelihood. So this is pretty good. We definitely want to keep this high. And what this is referencing is how likely this website session is matched to the caller. So if you're doing any type of keyword optimizing, you really want to make sure that that's probably above a 90. And then the last little icon here, I usually call it the link icon. Some people call it the infinity icon. That's indicating that we have sent an event into analytics for this call. And if you hover over it, it'll actually tell you the analytics property where we sent the event. All right, so that's all pretty straightforward. I don't think we need to view that in the call log. So next we have the visitor detail to talk about. So again, we have the likelihood. This is going to show the likelihood that the visitor was the correct one that matched the caller. If you're seeing low numbers, we would recommend viewing the accuracy report, and that's going to make a suggestion for how many new numbers you should add into your pool. So next, there's the ability to check for other sessions. So if you actually have a pretty low likelihood, it's going to be able to show you some other ones that are a probable match. So we're able to pull the advertising data. This is going to be information that we're pulling through Google Analytics. We're also going to show you cookies. So this is where we're going to detect things like Google Analytics. If you're using Marketo or HubSpot or even the Facebook pixel, we'll be able to report that there as well. I will be able to show you the map, which will be the precise location of the caller. And then we have a check analytics button. This is actually great for troubleshooting. This is going to allow you to look inside of analytics and see if we've sent any data there. So that is the visitor likelihood or the visitor detail column. So we have our test account here. It's not fully set up for ads and stuff yet, but I can show you pretty basic. Here we have our likelihood. This is the page I came in on, where I was when I placed the call. This is very correct. If there were any cookies and if there was any campaign data, that would populate here as well. So we are not connected to analytics. We know that because we don't see the link icon. Yep, the rest is pretty much straightforward. Okay, so next we have the score column. So just about every marketer out there knows how important it is to be able to attribute a phone call back to a specific marketing channel using, a phone call tracking software like, say, call tracking Metrix. So while it's fantastic that your phone is ringing off the hook, do you know which of your campaigns are bringing in the best qualified leads and which ones are converting into sales? So that is where the score column comes in. So I'm actually going to switch to the call log again and show you this. So I actually started here at Call Tracking Metrix as our marketing manager, and one of the things that we say here is that we really, eat our own dog food. We use our own products. And sometimes when you see a bunch of calls coming in, it's easy to assume, hey, that campaign is doing fantastic. So when I was in marketing, we added new keywords for trying to target our soft phone. And I think I added a keyword like internet phone. And then, within a couple hours, we actually had dozens of calls to that keyword. So just looking at raw data, I'm seeing lots of conversions. That's super exciting. But then it found out that everyone calling was actually looking for a Skype type of product, not really aligned with what we were actually trying to, sell. So with the use of call scoring, our team was able to, say this was a 1-star, and they could actually type in a reporting tag of what it was that the problem was. So we use one commonly here called Mars, which is just this, what they were looking for is out of this world. We don't have it. So we could hit save. So when I run reports, when I see I have 28 calls to my new to my new keyword, and then I realized that actually all of those are really low quality, that, then I know that, I need to actually probably kill that keyword. So call scoring can be very helpful for that. It can also be helpful to recognize sales. So, on the flip side, this could be an excellent call, and, it converted. So I could say, this was a sale. I can actually convert it and say, this was a sale for $45. And then I can now see that, we had a good quality call come in that actually generated $45 revenue. So call scoring is pretty cool and very useful, and there's lots of different use cases for it. I naturally tend to go down the marketing route. Other people I've heard for like the call center, they use it to actually score their agents and how they handled the call. So there's a lot of different use cases for that. And we'll be doing some exercises with that today. So that is call scoring. So here's just a breakdown of our call scoring options. And what's cool is you can actually customize all of these fields to use different names. So instead of calling it the score panel, it could actually be the sale panel or something like that. And then you can actually enable and disable what fields you want to actually be there. So you can make it so that the notes are turned off. You can actually make the reporting tags be a drop down, which will make it really consistent for reporting. So we'll be doing a workshop with all of this today, just a little later on. So up next in our call log is going to be the audio and Metrix field. Now, this is something that inside of accounts can be disabled. So if you don't have access to this, you might have an access control group. So with here, it's going to show the recording, and you could actually click it and it will play. It will tell you the length of the recording, total talk time, and then you're going to get simple metrics here of when this call took place and the status of it. So we have several call log statuses, and it is important to understand them. So a lot of them are pretty straightforward. So answered is the call was connected to its destination route. Completed, the tracking number accepted the call and the caller interacted with the call route. In progress means that the call is currently in progress. Pretty straightforward. Hang up means that the caller has hung up before the call finished routing. Busy, we routed a call to a receiving number and received a busy signal. So this one can be a little bit tricky. It's typically when people aren't utilizing our soft phone and we're routing to like their desk phone. And if their line that we're routing to is busy, that's when that's going to show up. Failed, we definitely don't want to see this. That means that the call could not be connected. No answer means we routed the call to the agent or receiving number, but no one or no machine answered it. All right, so up next we have the routing and actions. So this is actually probably better to show inside the call log. Here we go. So the routing is going to show in the case of your routing to an agent who it was route to. So we can see that this was routed to me and I answered it. This one I did not. And then if you're routing to a receiving number, it's going to show you that, it was set to route to my cell phone. Yep. And that is that. If I wanted to, I have a quick jump to email as well. So just like before, you can send an email. We can jump, it just pulls up the drop down from here, just like a quick jump. A flag, this is the next thing we need to talk about. This is really great if you're having audio issues or having any type of issue with the call to let us know. So fortunately, people really only do this when it's a problem. So if you're having not good quality, to let us know, and you can actually select what the issue was, and this will go right to our carriers, so it really helps with diagnosing problems. You also have the ability to exclude this activity. So excluding it is just going to remove it from the view. It doesn't delete the record of it. And say you have a bunch of repeat calls from this person, you could actually exclude all of them. And you can block the contact as well. So if you're getting spam calls, or I'm sure there's many use cases for why you might want to block someone, that will be done under the flag. So let's go ahead and close that and head back to our deck. Yep, so this is just going to be talking about how we can exclude calls, we can block them. When you select to block a call, you can do it block agency wide. So if you're on our marketing or contact center plan, this will actually block it from all of your sub accounts. You want to be careful when you're blocking calls, obviously. Make sure that it's not something like restricted, because that will block all restricted calls. So you just want to be careful with that. I would recommend really doing this when it's just a person or not a company. So that is the flag, which will give you the option to grade the call quality as well as exclude and block calls. All right, so now we're going to get a little bit more in depth about the call filter. So the filter is how you can run reports from the call log quickly. It's ideal for a manager who needs to manage employees and just monitor their calls. Perhaps the same report needs to be run every day and viewed in the call log. It's great for doing spot checks and to see if more intense scrutiny is required. So there's several fields that we can filter by in the call log. First one is going to be calendar. So we can, let's just switch to the call log. Easier to show you what we're talking about rather than just talk about it. So we can choose our quick jump to date frames. So maybe we just want to look at the last 7 days, last 30 days, or you can do any type of custom. Any tags, so we don't actually have any tags yet, but you could filter by tag. We could filter by agent. So here's me. Maybe I just want to look at calls by me. Next, we have the type. So maybe just inbound calls and maybe inbound text messages. Tracking source. So we could make just one or a multiple selection for tracking sources. We can get real granular and just search by tracking numbers. By receiving numbers. So maybe you want to run a report by where the calls are actually being routed to. We can search by status. So maybe you want to see, all of your in progress calls, or maybe you want to look at, failed, hang up, or no answer, things like that, or canceled. Break it down anyway. So key press. So if you're using an IVR, which we're going to be covering later today, we can actually filter by key press. So an example, like if you call our call tracking Metrix, you're going to get a message to press 1 for sales or 2 for support. So if I wanted to filter just for sales calls, I could do by the key press of 1. Transferred, so if you want to be run a report for who's transferring calls from and to, we can do that as well. We can filter by ring time, talk time, total time. We can, jump to seconds, minutes, or hours. And then all these also have drop downs here. So equals is greater than, between, all sorts of ways you can break this up. So reporting tags, I believe we have 2 of them. So I could run one. That would be like the Mars or sales. So I'd have to type it. So I could say Mars. And it would filter for just this call. We can also filter by score. So maybe you just want to look at your one scores. So you could evaluate things like, the keyword or the campaign that's generated your most, poor quality leads. But, on the same note, you might want to look at your, high quality ones. So lots of different ways that you can break this up. We can filter whether or not this was converted. So is any or is set, it's going to mean converted. And then we can actually put conversion amount metrics. So maybe you want to look at your, large sales or your smaller sales. And then lastly, we have visitor data, audio, first time contact. So this will show whether or not this was a first time caller or not. And then, like I said before, you can exclude calls, but that's not going to delete the record of them. It's just going to remove the visibility of it. So we can actually have it include excluded calls as well. So just about every way that you could break the data up, we offer. And what's also really cool is that you can save your filters. So I have a ton of saved filters that I use all the time, which will be like maybe my paid campaigns. I look at ones with, low scores and high scores so that I can make further optimization with those. And it's nice once you have them, you can just select them. So you build it once and then save it, and then you can reuse it all the time. So that is the filter. Very handy tool that we have. All right. So up next, we have the call log export. So this will export the call log, and it's going to allow you to choose your format, and then you can actually choose the fields that you want as well. And what I think is super cool is that if you have a saved filter, you can actually apply that for your export as well. So we can take a quick look at that. So here's our export. So I could do a quick search, and I can actually choose my export method, where I want it to go. I could choose for all sub-accounts or just the one that I'm in. I could customize. This is the full filter that we just went over, but if I had a saved one, I could actually apply that and just have it from the drop down. We're going to give you some format options for your phone. A lot of people are exporting to add into another data system, so the format of things tend to be pretty important. So we have a lot of different options for you here. Same for the time. You can decide how you want that to report. Export format. So we actually have some cool, like we have an AdWords, Bing, and Marin one. So that will automatically put it into the format so that you can export it from us and then upload it into, like, say, AdWords for offline conversions. So down here is where you can configure all the different fields that you'd like to be in this export. So by default, we're going to have these, but you could add pretty much every metric we report on. Just by clicking, it's going to add it over here. And same from here, maybe, I don't want the postal code, so I can send it back over, but I definitely want the keyword. And then we can schedule it to run. So maybe I want this daily, weekly, or monthly. I could say run and then select my run time. Maybe I want this in my inbox, oh, not evening, every morning at 7 a.m. so I can review this first thing. Yep, so that is the call log export. Pretty handy. All right, let's hop back over to the deck. So next we have our soft phone. So this is going to be a browser-based phone, which is offers maximum flexibility. So it's pretty cool. We like to say, drop the hardware, pick up the software. And this allows you to make outbound and accept inbound calls right from your computer. We all use this internally here, so we all have headsets so that we can take calls. It's really handy. I think more and more people should start using this. It's really great. It makes transferring calls and things like that very easy. So we're going to be doing some exercises with this later on today as well. So now let's do some exercises for inside of the call log. So we're going to do 4 fairly quick working sessions. So the first one we're going to do is edit the scored call log fields and score a call. We're going to create a custom filter and save it, export the call log using said filter, and we're going to use the soft phone to place an outbound call. Pretty straightforward. And here is our instructions to do this. Like I said, if you can print these out, it'll be very helpful for you. I'm going to try to flip back as much as I can, and feel free to tell me to slow down at any time because I'm told that I do these pretty quickly. Okay. Here we go. So our first one is going to be to edit the scored call fields inside of the call log. So what we're going to do, let's navigate to that. So this is how we can edit our fields. So we can name our column. I'm going to leave it as score. I think that's fine for now. We can enable and disable all of these fields. So if for any reason you didn't want people to be able to ask if this call is converted, you could disable that. You could customize how that is going to display. And then, you know what, we're gonna reword this and actually say revenue. Here we go. Save that. We're going to enable reporting tags, and we're actually going to create a list of limited tags. So this is really great for reporting. Like you saw I did in my example a little bit ago, is I just typed them. Which is nice to have that type of flexibility, but what's going to happen is inside of our reporting, we can run all sorts of reports on these, but it's not going to be able to use logic for singulars versus plurals, so sale versus sales is not going to be able to combine those. So creating a drop down is going to be really handy to keep your reporting very consistent. So what we're going to do is add one for sales, support, employment. I have a hard time typing and talking at the same time. So, whoop, thought that looked funny. There we go. Appointment schedule. And then Mars, again, we use that internally here. That's really for calls that are just out of this world. Kind of a fun fact, we have a lot of people calling in who try to stalk people. We're not that type of call tracking. So I'm actually going to go ahead and disable notes as well. So now really all I did is I renamed my converted field to revenue, and then I created a drop-down list here. So if we go back to our call log, now if I wanted to score this call, you see that this is now revenue. And then the reporting tags is now a drop down, so I can select from my drop down and say, this was a support call, and it was a 3-star, and it did not convert, no revenue. So there we go. So pretty straightforward, but very powerful because we can filter for the certain tags, and they'll also show up in the reporting. So there's a lot of really cool things we can do with that. So that was call scoring. And that is available on all plans that we have. So next we're going to create a custom filter and save it. So we're going to select the date frame of this month. We're going to add the type of inbound text. We're going to remove the type of outbound calls. We're going to select the tracking source of website. We're going to select the reporting tag to include sale, which we should have. And we're going to set the total talk time to be greater than 120 seconds and set the score to be between 3 and 5 stars and say is converted and save our filter. So again, it'd be really useful if these were printed so that you could reference this as we go through and do it. So let's go ahead and do it. So we come to our filter. So we're going to select the date frame of this month. We're going to add the type of inbound, and we're going to remove the type of outbound calls. We're going to select the tracking source of website. We're going to select the reporting tag to include sale. There we go. We're going to set our total time to be greater than 120 seconds, so that's 2 minutes. We're going to set this to be between 3 and 5 and say is converted. And then if we scroll up to the top, this is when we can save it. And I'm going to say converted call, something like that. And the description would probably be helpful too, and say converted 3 to 5 star call to our website tracking source and save. So now it's been saved. Now if I apply it, I'm not going to have any calls because I haven't had any that is greater than 2 minutes. But now it's super handy. It's in my drop down. So as I start to gain call volume, I can then select it and apply it. So real quick and easy. Or as some say, easy peasy. All right, up next, we have an exercise to export the call log. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the export, and then we're going to input, we're going to select, our method of email. We're going to input our email address. We're going to select our filter, which I guess should have been named this, but however, we just named it. We're going to set the phone format to be like this and have our time to be in hours, minutes, and seconds. We're going to have this be a CSV, and we're going to schedule it to run our weekly and then schedule an export to run now. So let's head over to the call log. So if I wanted to, I could just tell this to refresh and then apply, so that'll take off the filter. And then we head over here. So email, yes, going to send to me. We are going to select our saved filter, which is actually going to be on the bottom here. So there's my saved filter. I don't really know how to name this, but we're going to select this one. We have hours, minutes, and seconds. That's good. We're going to use the CSV format. And then we're going to schedule this to run weekly. And like I said, I like it in my inbox when I come in. So I want that to run at 7 a.m. Say schedule. And then we can tell it to run the export now. And that will email me my export. So good stuff. Pretty straightforward. So now I'll have that email, which will actually be blank since I haven't had any calls that match that criteria. Okay. So up next, we are going to place a call using our soft phone. So this is actually pretty easy to do. Come over here. If I click phone, Here we go. So I could click right here and it'll place a call back to this number. So I could just do that. It's going to auto-populate it, and then I can say call. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it is ringing. Oof, it's ringing very loudly in my ears. I could put it on hold, mute. I could head back to my keypad. So I'm actually going to hang up. That's an example of that. And then in order to have a call, let's see, Google, I can place an outbound call, and this will route to my person. So let me do this. Oh, it still says I'm on this call. Okay. Cancel. Okay. So if I dial this one, and call. So that's actually something funky is going on with my settings there. So that is a soft phone. Like I said, you can click to dial. Very simple to do. It'll populate it for you and hit call. Boom. And then that call will populate here. All right. All right, so next we're going to get into our call settings. Now that we're familiar with the call log, there are some, as well as some of our advanced routing options. Let's go back and further explore the call settings. We did briefly touch on this yesterday. You have the ability to create multiple configurations that can apply to one number or group of numbers. Anything to do with routing or source tracking, such as call recording, transcriptions, announcement messages, and caller ID options are likely configured into the call settings options. So let's take a look. All right, sorry, 1 second. Okay. Okay, so we have recordings and transcriptions. So the call recordings can be all configured inside of the call settings. So yeah, this, yeah, let's, yeah. I think my internet keeps crashing. So here we have our call settings. To get there, you go to Numbers, Call Settings. By default, we'll create one called Account Level. You could always create more by hitting New Settings, but we'll just take a look at the one we already have. So by default, we're going to have recording enabled for outbound calls, but if you'd like, we can inbound, but if you'd like to record your outbound calls, it's as easy as toggling it on. We do not charge any extra for recording outbound calls. We do have some other options that do have a cost associated with them, and the cost will also be reflectant of the plan that you're on. So if you're looking at this, the price may be different depending on the plan that you are on, but we do offer the ability to encrypt call recordings. We can do dual channel recordings, so that's actually pretty cool, so that you could listen to just one side. That's really good for different privacy issues. All right, and then we have the call transcriptions. So the transcriptions are pretty cool because they give you the ability to read your calls rather than listen to them, which can be a really quick way to evaluate a call. So we offer two different types of transcriptions. We have our basic transcription, which does come at a per minute rate. And again, this is going to vary per plan that you're on. And then we have our enhanced transcriptions. This one is more expensive, but it's pretty much exact. So with the basic transcriptions, it's going to be a little bit more faulty, but you can usually still make out what the conversation was. I commonly refer to it as it's kind of similar to drunk texting. Usually it takes a little bit to solve the riddle of what they meant to say, but you can figure it out. The enhanced transcription, on the other hand, is going to be pretty spot on. I've done tests before, and it can actually transcribe supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So it's very, very smart. All right, and because the transcriptions are a per minute fee, not a per call fee, you can actually put a maximum transcription length. So the default is going to be 1 minute, but maybe you want it to be something like 10 minutes or something like that. So different ways that you can limit to help protect your cost. So these are going to be all about compliance regarding the transcriptions. And one of the things we haven't covered yet is notifications, but we will be getting into them today. We're going to give you the option to delay the notification so that the transcription can be included in your call notifications. So typically a notification will go out right after the call is completed, but the transcription will actually come after the call. It normally takes about 1 minute to 2 minutes to transcribe it. So I would actually recommend toggling this on so that your notifications can have that great robust data in it. So I do suggest that. So some things about the caller ID. Our basic caller ID information will be enabled. If you wanted to, you could enable our enhanced caller ID. With that, we're able to get really granular information about the people, such as, their address, gender of the caller. We can actually pull things like their social media profiles. We could tell you their household income, the highest level of education they've achieved. This does come at an additional fee, and we only charge this when we're able to receive that information. And if we are, if like say I call back 5 times, we're only going to charge it on the first time, so it won't be a reoccurring charge for that person. Yep, and then here we're going to give you some additional options for customizing how calls come in. Maybe you just want to show the tracking number as a caller ID. So that's typically for compliance reasons. And then we're going to give you the option to use national formatting. So we have our spam detective. This also comes at an additional charge per plan. What this is going to do is it's going to use, we have put actually a lot of effort into this. It uses machine learning and other, we tap into a database that's going to be able to detect whether this call has been reported as spam. And then if so, you can choose how you want that call to be handled. You could tag it, you could send them to a voicemail, or you could have it capture or solve a CAPTCHA, which is going to be using the keypad. So say that this is like a robo dialer, they can't press buttons. So you could have it answer like, what's 1 + 1? It'll ask them to use their keypad to answer it. If they can't answer it, then you could have it hang up the call. So it's a way to prevent your call agents from getting a whole bunch of spam calls into their queue. All right, moving along. So up next we have agent whispers. These are pretty cool. So you could have it say a message that the agent is going to hear when answering the phone, and the caller is actually still going to hear the ringing. So like I said, you can have multiple call setting queues or call setting configurations, not queues. and you say you had one for all of your paid campaigns. So you could actually have the agent hear a message that says, call coming in from paid campaign holiday promotion, something like that, just to better equip your agent for the call before they actually even connect with the person. So some pretty cool things you can do with that. Or you could have it just announce the source of the call. So that's really for people who aren't really living and breathing inside of our system. Maybe they're using their desk phones, so that when they go to hit answer the call, it'll actually say, call from Google AdWords or call from website, so that they can be better prepared for the call. All right, and as I briefly mentioned yesterday, you have the ability to send a message after each phone call. So if your industry is very, phone mobile, you have people coming in, you could actually send a little thank you note after every call to go out automatically, thank you for doing business with us, or something real nice, and maybe even put in a little link or something like that. So we do require you to know the laws around texting, but this is a really cool feature that we do offer. I believe we actually tell you a little bit about what the laws are. So there you go. And then down at the bottom here, this is where you actually assign your numbers to the call settings. Lots you can do in call settings. And like I said, you can have multiple call setting configurations. You create new ones just by adding new settings. There's no limit to how many call settings you can have. So it could be maybe by department, like say you want to have a special call settings for your HR that doesn't actually record the calls or transcribe the calls. So it's a great way to protect certain information and then gather a lot more information from other sources. So that is our call settings. So paired with our transcriptions, we have this really cool tool called keyword spotting. So this is also a little bit machine learning or AI. So what this is going to do is it's going to be listening to your call, and then you can decide if certain words are spoken, what actions you want it to take. So we have a few examples of how people have used it before. So one is like customer satisfaction. So if monitoring customer satisfaction is important to your business, these keyword spotting tags can be very helpful. When someone says something like upset, angry, or even uses profanity, we can trigger an email or a text message to the manager alerting them of the situation. We can also score the call with a 1-star rating and tag the call as an upset customer. The same applies for a satisfied customer. So if somebody says something like, wonderful or happy or excellent, we can tag the call with happy customer and score the call with a 4 or 5 star. So pretty cool. Another example is wrong number. So occasionally we get people who simply have the wrong number or are looking for another business. In these circumstances, if someone says something like wrong number or wrong company, we can tag the call as wrong number, remove the website visitor information, because in that case, it's probably a bad match, and then score the call with a 1 star, or even exclude the call from the call log. Our team uses this to evaluate our AdWords ad copy when we have poor quality leads, or for people looking for a different service. By automatically tagging the call and scoring it with a low score, our team was able to identify trends and correct the ad copy to help avoid those situations. So I actually, like I said, I used to be the marketing manager here before I went into this product coach role, and we use this stuff all the time, and it's very powerful. But now that I'm in this new role, I still use our keyword spotting, and we use this. This is a fun use case. We use it for internal contests. So for the Academy, for example, when we first launched this in the spring, we created a keyword for every time somebody says Academy or CTM Academy. and we ran a contest for our staff. Whoever with the most mentions gets a prize. So I was able to utilize our reports, filter for the keyword that it was auto tagging to see that it was actually James who was our #1 promoter for the Academy. So he was rewarded for that. So there's a lot of use cases for keyword spotting, and we're going to be doing some exercises with that today. Okay, so we already went over the spam detective. Call settings. So let's actually hop over these, and I see we're on the hour. We're going to revisit those, but let's real quick take a 10-minute break, stretch our legs. I did see some questions coming in. I will address those as soon as we get back from the break. So let's meet back at 3:15. All right, welcome back. We did have some questions that came in, and I thought I'd share them with the group. Somebody asked, can we set up a recorded message, something like, please hold a moment while we're locating someone to help you, that plays for the caller instead of hearing ringing? That is a fantastic question. And yes, we can do that. That is going to be configured in the call queues, and we'll be covering that in tomorrow's class. So that wouldn't be under the call settings, but in the actual queue configurations. So you can actually do multiple little messages, and you can actually say, you know, after 30 seconds, play this message, after 15 seconds, play this message. So we'll be covering that in tomorrow's class. Somebody else asked if the soft phone records the call. So it does, but the recording is going to be configured in the call settings group. So if the tracking number that was dialed is configured to record the call, if you answer on the soft phone or really any phone, it won't matter. It will record the call. So those were some great questions. So let's continue on. We have a full agenda to cover today. So one of the things I wanted to do is a quick working session on the call settings. So what we're going to do is enable recording for outbound calls. We're going to enable transcriptions. We're going to tell it to include the transcription in notification emails. And we're going to create an automatic response that says something, like, thanks for contacting us, respond with probably fall would make more sense, and receive a 20% promo code. So let's hop into our call settings and do that. Fix the view, and there you go. A little nicer for you. So we come over to our settings. We're going to click edit. So we're going to enable outbound recording. We're going to enable transcriptions. We're going to do just the basic first because we're actually going to test these. I'm going to increase the length of this. And then we're going to say delay the notification. Let's go ahead and save this. We'll not enable that. And we'll create an automatic text response. It says, thanks for contacting us. Respond with, we'll do fall. And receive a 20% promo code. Now what we can do with this, and we'll be covering tomorrow, is how we can set up an automated text message trigger that will auto respond with this message. So setting that up for tomorrow. All right, so that is enabling our features. So okay, so we did that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place a test call and review the transcription. So I'm actually going to have Nicole call in, and we have the basic transcription enabled. I think if we're up, finally, I'll hit accept calls. Oh, I think she started calling. SBC, awesome. So let's go ahead and answer this. Hello, this is Jessica.
Hi, I am calling to inquire.
Excellent. So who am I speaking with?
My name is Nicole.
Let's say some fun words and see how it transcribes them. We'll go sweets themed. So lollipop, cake, candy, and I don't know.
Dipped and dunked?
Dipped and dunked, yeah. All right, thanks. So I'm actually going to hang up this call. So we're going to give it a minute for that to transcribe. And in the meantime, what we're going to do is go back into our settings and enable the enhanced one, and then we will have Nicole call back. And lucky her, she probably just received a text message that says she gets a 20% discount. So her lucky day. So we can hit save. So now we're going to go back to the call log, pull up my phone, and then if she's calling back, that's going to ring to me. There it is. Call tracking Metrix. This is Jessica. Can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling back to inquire.
Excellent. So here's some probably, oh, you know what? I just realized I'm showing the wrong screen. I tend to do that a lot. But what's cool is we're just doing call examples, so didn't really miss anything. So let's think of some hard words to say, like hippopotamus, maybe potpourri, and what's another difficult word to say? Elephant. And
superfluous.
What was that?
Superfluous?
Is that a real word?
I don't know.
It is now. All right, I think that should be good. Thanks for calling in.
No problem.
All right, so that was our two calls with the different transcriptions enabled. So let's give that a minute, and I do apologize that I was showing the wrong screen for a moment. I am very good at doing that. So up, we can see that the first one is done transcribing because the icon has appeared. Make this full screen. So I can click it and it will bring me right to the transcription. So you can see that this was actually Nicole. She says, "Hi, I'm calling to inquire." She did say that. To my speaking with. So I think I said to whom. It actually tell you the confidence level too, so that's pretty cool. It did not think very confident on that. The name is Nicole. Some fun words to transcribe, and I don't. Yeah, so it does a pretty good job, but not quite. Like I said, it's kind of like drunk texting. So what's also cool is when you play the recording, it will auto-populate. So lollipop, cake, candy, and I don't know. So it didn't actually put any of my fun words. So like I said, it does a pretty good job. It just doesn't do an exact job. So we can wait just another second and the next one will appear. And we'll look at that. So the next activity will be to do some keyword spotting. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out a rule. So we're going to say add keyword. If somebody says sale, credit card, purchase, order, buy, or money, we're going to have it tag that call as a sale, score the call with 3 stars, and add it as converted for $25 and save our changes. And then we'll place another test call. So let's go ahead and do that. Here we go. So keyword spotting is under the reporting tab, and then we can head over to settings, keyword spotting. So what we want to do is add our keywords first. So these are words that we're going to be looking for. Now what's pretty cool too is we can actually decide who says them. So maybe we want it to be coming from the agent or the caller, or it really doesn't matter. So we're going to look for the keyword of sale. We're going to add a keyword. We'll say anyone. Credit card by anyone. I'm going to say purchase by the caller. And order, lovely, by anyone, by, or lastly, money, say by anyone. So now that we're going to tell the system to identify when these words are spoken, the next thing we get to do is decide what actions we want to take place. So we can click add an action. So the first action we're going to have is to tag the call as a sale or awesome sauce. I don't know where that populated from. So we can say tag as a sale. We're going to want to add an action. We're going to tell it to score the call with a 3-star rating. We're going to add another action, and we're going to tell it to convert the call. And then we're, again, for awesome sauce, we're going to say $25. And then we're going to save our options. And last thing we need to do is assign it to a call settings group. So we only have one, so that's pretty easy, and save. So now as we transcribe the call, we're going to be looking for these words to be spoken, and then we're going to take these actions if it was identified. So this is taking a minute, but it's going to come in. So pull up my phone. So Nicole, why don't we have another call, please? Oh, it's coming in. Yep. You guys can hear it. Answer. Hello, this is Jessica.
Hi, this is Nicole.
Are you interested in purchasing some product?
Sure.
What were our other keywords? Do you have your credit card ready?
I do.
Great. I look forward to processing your order, and that should be good. Thanks for calling.
Awesome sauce?
Awesome sauce. Thanks. And enough of that. So we'll check in on that in a minute. As the transcription runs, then the keyword spotting will run, and then we should see the additional icons populate. Plug my headset back in. Somebody just asked a great question. Do you have to have transcribing ARN in order for the keyword spotting to work? Yes. So these the keyword spotting tool is built off of the transcriptions. So the one powers the other. So unfortunately, if you're not doing the transcriptions, we can't do the keyword spotting. So. But that was a great question. So we'll wait just a minute for that to populate, and then we'll review it. So we already spoke about that, and we already took our 10-minute break. So up next, we're going to actually take a quick look at text messages. We're going to look at schedules, notifications, IVR. Sorry, I broke that up funny. So we're going to look at IVR menus, voicemails, and have a working session on these. So this is a lot for 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So text message. So many US tracking numbers can be enabled to receive and send text messages. Text messages can often be faster, more efficient communication method for various products and advertising channels. It can particularly be useful in traditional advertising channels like newspapers, magazines, and radio. Call tracking Metrix is one of the only call tracking services that tracks all text communication in conjunction with your advertising call tracking. And there's a lot that we can do that is really cool with it. So that includes the ability to actually send bulk text messages. So if you can think like retail or even the hospitality service or industry, you have a product that maybe is getting ready to go bad, you could send out a max message being like 20% off this product today only. So you can actually do reoccurring bulk messages. On our marketing plan or our contact center plan, you can use triggers to automatically respond to text messages. So like the one that we set up, if they respond with, promo, we can set up a trigger to automatically send them a link with the promo code and where they can activate it. You can schedule text to go out on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And we have the ability to send up to 800 characters at a time. So there's some cool stuff that we can do with texting. Our texting is actually pretty straightforward, but I'll give you a quick tour inside the log. Oh, and we had our keyword spotting. So here we go. So first, let's look at our text log. So, this is actually saying that we sent the text to Nicole because she called in. So she got, our thank you for contacting us and got our promo code. This we can reply, and we can just simply type in. We can actually decide what tracking number we want it to come from, so that's pretty cool. And then if we wanted, we could add attachments. We do support sending GIFs as well, which is pretty cool. Not GIFs, emojis. So you can add emojis and fun stuff. If we want to do a new message, pretty simple. We would want to say who we're sending it to, type our message, and same thing, we could add any attachments. If you wanted to do bulk messaging, you could do that here and schedule all of them, as well as the triggers, but we're going to be covering that tomorrow. So I wanted to give just a quick high-level overview of the texting. Then real quick, we can view our transcription. And then we have keyword spotted of credit card and order. And when we click them, it'll actually jump to where that was spoken in the transcription. So it's pretty cool. And you can see it tagged our call with sale. So, hello, this is Jessica. Hi, this is Nicole. Are you interested in purchasing some products? Sure. So that was our keyword. We were trying to do credit card. So good stuff. And like you see, it's pretty exact on this transcription. So between the two, the enhanced one does cost a lot more, but it is a lot more exact. All right, moving on, because we still have so much good stuff to cover. Just not enough time. So call schedules, these are really handy. You can create a schedule for each of your agents, a specific call queue, or a voice menu. This we'll walk you through creating a schedule. Schedules will determine when a particular configuration will ring. For example, you may wish to set a schedule for a typical Monday through Friday workday, and one for after hours during the weekends, or one for weekdays and one for weekends. So that, say after hours, rather than ringing your queues, it could auto route to a voicemail. So we'll be doing an exercise with that very shortly. So we did briefly mention notifications. So notifications provide instant visibility into your advertising call tracking programs. So what they can do is you can have them go out as a daily, weekly, or even a monthly digest. And then you could have your notification for specific calls, and then you can set it to go to, you know, really anyone you decide. So like I said, I tend to take the marketing route, as most of us marketers know that we really have to prove our value and make sure it's in everyone's faces. And notifications are a great way to say, hey, I generated this my advertising efforts generated these leads, which led into these sales. And you can have that go out after every call. You can have it go out once a day. So you can do different digests and stuff like that. And you can choose to have the audio recording of the call attached, the transcription. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize notifications. So up next we have IVR menus, which are voice menus that allow the caller to use the key presses for quick routing to the correct place. So what does IVR stand for? Let's see, 100 bonus points. If anyone knows what it is, enter it into the question box. But it's there for interactive voice response. So what it's going to do is it's going to prompt the caller to interact with it, and then it's going to route the calls accordingly based on the caller's input. So IVRs, I think, are a great way to, channel your calls to the correct departments very easily. So without, putting people on hold and transferring, you're going to allow the person to decide where they need to go so we can get them there as quickly as possible. IVR menus are easy to set up, completely customizable, and can be updated at any time. These menus come with a variety of options. You can choose which tracking numbers should ring to each IVR menu. You can use speech recognition to allow the caller to speak in order to select a menu item rather than making a key press. You can customize the greeting that the caller hears by uploading or creating your own recording, or using our text-to-speech engine with our various voices to choose from. You can choose actionable triggers with each key press, including things like routing callers to a particular queue, which we'll be building out tomorrow, routing calls to a destination landline or mobile phone, which would be the receiving number. We can send calls into a virtual voicemail box. We could do things like send the caller a text message or collect information from the caller and store it. So lots we can do with IVR menus, and we'll be building those out shortly. So within our IVRs, we can actually set up voicemails. So virtual voicemails, boxes save costs and increase response time. So we're going to get into our working sessions where we're going to build these things out. So up first, we're going to create a schedule. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new schedule. We're going to name the schedule after hours. We're going to set the time zone to whatever is the most sense for where you are. I'll probably do Eastern Standard Time. And then we're going to say select work days from midnight to 9 p.m. and from 5 p.m. to 12. This should be a.m. That's a typo. I apologize. So from 5 p.m. to midnight. So, and then after that, we're going to create another one for business hours, and then it's going to be actual work hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let's actually do this one first. So, I'm going to head over to our to CTM. We're going to go to Numbers, Schedules. Anytime we don't have something created, it's going to drop us into a configuration or to set it up. So I'm going to call this one Business Hours and then say normal Monday through Friday business hours. Yep, Eastern time. Hit save. Yeah. So the next thing we have to do is add the time. So this is going to be when I'm actually open. So I'm going to have this be weekdays. If I was open every day, I could select all days. And this is going to make it by default for this. This is not what we want. So I could do workday, and that's going to default 8:50 to 6 p.m. But I am going to actually set this to 9 a.m. and then we're only going to work till 5. So there we go. Pretty straightforward. And then save. So those are our Monday through Friday open hours. So I can now go back and then say a new schedule, and this will be for my after hours. And then this is when we're going to add our times. So this can actually get a little bit more complicated. So from midnight, now I want to say from midnight to 9 a.m. because that's when we open. I can actually type, oops, say 9 a.m. So, but then what we have to do is actually add the wraparound. So this would then be from 5 p.m. to midnight. So that's how you do after hours. It will need to have a wraparound, and then we can hit save. There we go. So now we have 2 schedules created. They kind of piggyback each other. I did just Monday through Friday. We could come in and create a new one and then say like weekend hours, which is actually going to be, then I can say weekends, and we're going to say from 12 to, oh, we actually have an all day, 12 to 12, and then hit save. So this way I could have a different voicemail for on the weekend than from like, say they call in on a Wednesday night. Okay, so we have now 3 schedules created. Everyone with me so far? Hope so. Okay. So up next, we're going to create a voicemail. So we're going to navigate to the Numbers tab and then select voicemail. We're going to say new voicemail, and then we're going to use the preset for a voicemail. And then we're going to tag this call as voicemail and save our changes. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we have numbers, and we have our voicemail, or voice menus. And then if we come to our presets, we have one already for a voice menu. So like with our other presets, what it's going to do is auto-fill in a lot of our options. So allow the caller to leave a message. Now we did just create schedules, so what's cool is maybe I want this to be my after hours voicemail. And then I can actually say, actually this is going to be after hours, but we'll leave that alone. So we could say, please leave a message after the beep. That's pretty generic. I could say, thanks for calling. We're currently closed. Yep, closed for the day. Make it a little bit more personal. Or I could upload my own recording using my voice or upload one. So there we go. So this is where we can configure a lot of information. We're going to do this more with our IVR menu more so than our voicemail box. So what it's going to do is auto route them to leave a message. And it's going to play a message, record it, and then we can actually say, yes, I do want it to transcribe. And then you can limit the recording length. I'm going to say 10 minutes. People shouldn't be leaving messages longer than 10 minutes. And then we can add an action and say, I want to tag this call, which is going to be voicemail. So what's going to be nice about this is I'll be able to run filters for any time anyone was left a voicemail. So there's reporting we can do around that and a lot of cool stuff. So now we have our lovely voicemail that people will hear if they call after hours. And then we'll let them know that we're closed for the day. Okay, so we can head back. And now you can see that we have a voicemail set up and we can actually listen to the greeting here if we'd like. So now we get to get into some more fun stuff of creating the actual IVR menu. So this is going to be our main greeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new one. Let's go nuts. We're going to label it. So this is going to be our greeting. Thank you for calling. Please press 1 for sales or 2 for support, 3 for employment, 4 for appointment scheduling, and 5 to leave a voicemail. And we're going to call it main routing. So hopefully everyone printed these. It'll make it easier for you. But let's head on over and create it. So from here, I'm going to say new voice menu. I'm going to call this my main greeting. I'm going to say my Monday through Friday, business hour greeting. Oops. Now here's also cool. I can have it run during my business hours. So now it will auto route to here during business hours, and then I can tell it after hours to auto route to my voice menu of the voicemail for after hours. Pretty cool, right? So it's automatically going to handle sending them to voicemail after hours, so we don't have to worry about the phone ringing. So this is where we're going to want to put in our main greeting that these people are going to hear, directing them to the options that we're going to offer them. So thank you. Thank you for calling. Let's say, please press 1 for sales. We're going to shorten it into for support. There we go. Now at this point, we do have the ability to tag this call. I like to tag on a more granular level. So if I wanted to, I could say main business hours or something like that, so that we could maybe run reporting for people who are routed during business hours. We could do that. I'm going to choose not to. So this is pretty cool. This is going to be the speech recognition. So rather than pressing 1, if they say sales, it'll auto route them, and 2, it'll auto route them. So I'm going to enable that. We can have it stop playing the message as soon as somebody inputs. So say, I'm sure we've all been called some company and they have really long IVRs, and you know that you want to press 5 to get to the proper place. So you could just hit 5 and it will stop playing the message. This is going to be maximum user input. So 1 digit, which is going to help control the quality of it. So if I'm only offering 1 or 2, there's no need for someone to enter 15. Which will confuse the system. So because we're only doing 1 digit, 1 makes sense. Here's where we can configure how many seconds we should wait for the caller to make an input. We do 7 seconds by default. If you have a really long IVR message, you may want to make this longer or shorter, whatever makes the most sense for you. You have the ability to create an error message. So this is where you could put something like, sorry, we didn't get that, try again. And then we can specify how many times we should allow this person to try again to get it right. And then after 5 times, how do we want to handle this? So we could hang up the call. So this is also a great way for handling like robo-dialers because they can't press buttons. So if after 5 attempts they can't do it, we're going to disconnect the call. Yep. So by default, we have our first menu item created here. It's going to say hang up. So if somebody presses 1, we do not want them to hang up. What we're going to want to do is dial a number. So this is going to ask us to select a receiving number, which we already configured yesterday. And then here's the word optional. So this is where I could say sale. So they could press 1 or speak sale and be routed here. Now I could enter another custom message here that says something like connecting you to our sales team. And again, you can choose the voice. And what we can do, I like to add an action here to tag and then say sales call. So that we'll know that this was a sales call. And then we can hit save. So we have our option 1. Now we need to add another menu option for number 2. So this could be the same thing. We could dial a receiving number. We could actually tell it to do a whole variety of things. We're not going to cover all of these, but we could do, we could actually have it send a text message based on a key press. We could have them leave a message, hang up, route to a call queue, route to a geo router. We could ask them to collect more input, fire a pixel, add to a smart router, dialer. There's so many options. So what we're going to do with this one is actually ring to an agent. And then our word is going to be support. So again, you have the option of putting a message in here just so that they know that they're on the right path. So we could say something like, not transferring, connecting you to one of our friendly support team members. So now we need to select which agent. So I could say, send it to me. So now anytime anyone hits 2, it's going to route directly to me. And then we can say when the agent is unavailable, we want to automatically press 1 so that if I'm not accepting calls, it'll actually route to this queue. What we could do in addition to that is we could actually add another menu of voicemail. So if I'm not available, it will route to a voicemail. So a few other options. We can add a tag, and then I want this to be support call. So now, as calls come in, we want them to hear our main greeting. Thank you for calling. Please press 1 for sales and 2 for support. As they make their selection, they're then going to be routed to the configured arrangement, and then the calls will be tagged and transferred accordingly. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with IVR menus, and they're really great for getting the calls into the right hands quickly. So the last step is to actually assign your tracking numbers to the IVR. So now if we go over to ours, it didn't work. So now here's one of our tracking numbers. Instead of telling it to dial the receiving number, I now want them to call a voice menu, and we're going to say our main greeting, save. So now you can see it's going to the voice menu, same here. Instead of dialing the agent that we set up yesterday, we're going to say call the voice menu and send to main greeting and save. So now we have our 2 menus, our 2 phone numbers that are going to go to our main voice menu. So this is also great because if they call after hours, they'll be automatically routed to our voicemail. So IVR is very cool, so much flexibility, endless possibilities of what you can do with them. We used a very basic configuration in our examples. So up next, we're going to create a notification. So to do that, we're going to navigate to our reporting tab in the notifications. We're going to name it weekly calls. We're going to set the type to be weekly digest of calls, texts, and forms. We're going to save our changes. We're going to add an email address for it to be sent to. And then we're going to create our subject line and include the fields that we'd like to be included in the notification. So let's head back over. Here we go. So we're going to go to our reporting tab, and then we're going to go to notifications. Now, because we don't have any created, it's going to auto bring us into it. So we're going to name it weekly calls. So here's the type. This is all different types that we can do. So we can do after each call, text, or form. After we could do a text message. We could have an hourly digest, a daily digest, a weekly digest, a monthly digest, after a form submission, after a call sale, after a call is scored. We can create them for when you have numbers purchased or released. So we're going to stick with our, what do we decide, weekly? So then we get to decide our delivery method. We're going to stick with email. Format is fine for me. I'm going to want my weekly message to come in on Mondays. 7 a.m. is perfect. So this is kind of interesting right here, to ignore empty emails or not. So this can throw people off. We will send the notification whether or not there's any data that falls into this criteria. So you can tell it to ignore when you don't have any calls or texts, for a week. I guess that would be more like if you're doing like a daily. Or we could send it empty, which sometimes confuses people. So you'll either get an empty notification, or we can just bypass sending it if there's no data there. It's whatever makes the most sense for you. But people tend to get confused. So just want to make sure that's clarified. And so here's where we can put in, who we want this to go to, send it to me, and maybe I want to send it to my clients so that they can all know, the great work that I've done. Now, something cool that we have now is we've been adding a lot of tokens into our system. So we can actually click this and it's going to auto add in the account name. So if you're on our marketing or contact center plan and you have multiple accounts that you're running, this will say, my account name, which would be, September Academy Workshop 2018. And then I could say something like, this is our weekly digest of calls, text, and forms. Yep. And then we have some default fields already set up for you. Just like the call log export, you can decide what fields you want to include and which you do not want to include just by clicking over. And then if you don't want things like, visitor data, you can send it back. So there are lots and lots of fields that you can choose from. You can add the transcription, endless. There we go. So you can apply some filters. So maybe you only want it to include calls that are over X amount of seconds long, or maybe it's like a tag that you want. So maybe you want this to be a voicemail. You want to receive a daily digest of your voicemails. So that will come to you. Maybe that would make more sense for a day, not a weekly. So there's all sorts of ways that you can break it up. Maybe, just new callers so you don't have repeat callers. You can say by tracking source, and then it'll show you both of them we have. So maybe I only want to look at my paid calls from Google AdWords. And then we can actually see what it would look like from a test call. So it's going to look at all of the calls in my log. See if we can preview. I have to save it first. Let's see if we can see. So this is going to show me what it's going to look like. So here's the paid calls that I've had. Or what is this? The calls to, yeah, Google AdWords that I've had. See, I had 2 come in, 1 yesterday, 1 today. And I can view certain data about them. And it will actually include the transcriptions. So pretty cool. That is notifications. Again, a lot of flexibility around them. We'll be covering this logo and how you can customize that stuff, I believe, Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow is analytics and attribution themed. So this will be Thursday's class. We'll be going over that. So, yep, that's notifications. Pretty straightforward, very flexible on how you'd want them and when you want them to go out. So my last slide is to, test everything, make sure it's all working properly. So I figured this would be a fun exercise of our IVR to make sure that it is routing properly. So I'm going to this menu. I'm going to grab this one, my call log. Now, one of the things that I'm going to add to it is now that we have an IVR menu, tell it to display the key presses. I'm going to pop out my phone. So it says I'm accepting calls. Perfect. I'm going to come over and I'm going to place a test call from this phone. So we should be dialing. Perfect. So if I come over here.
Thank you for calling. Please press 1 for sales and 2 for support.
Oh, hopefully you can hear that. Sales.
Connecting you to our sales team. For quality assurance, this call may be recorded.
So sorry, I realized I was just showing the wrong screen. So now it's actually routing to my receiving number. So let's do that again. Go. That up. I realized I was showing the wrong screen. I'm sorry, guys. I tend to do that all the time. So let's try this again, and we'll see that it's routing properly. Let's tell this to call my number. It's using my Google Voice. Come back over here.
Thank you for calling. Please press 1 for sales and 2 for support.
Support.
Connecting you to one of our friendly support team members.
Pretty cool. And now you can see that it is ringing to me. So I can answer this. Hello. Ah. Gonna hang up. It creates a lot of feedback when I'm calling one browser to the same browser. So pretty cool. So in that case, we can now see that it auto tagged my calls for me. So I know that this went to the support queue and this went to the sales queue. Now I was using the voice option for that, so it didn't actually show the key press. So let me do it one last time. Call from here. I'll actually use the key press.
Thank you for calling. Please press 1 for sales and 2 for support. Connecting you to one of our friendly support team members.
Hang that up. But now you can see that it tagged it as support, and you can see we used the key press. So pretty cool. I was able to attribute the channel I was calling, and then because I had called before, it's going to credit it to this session. So again, sorry at first I was showing the wrong screen, and thank you all for letting me know. So we tested our IVR, it worked. That is happy, and that actually completes it for the day. Do you have any questions regarding all the many things that we covered? So whether it be IVRs, voicemails, notifications, call scoring, so many things. We covered all of the call log navigation, what the different icons stand for. We did filters, we did export, accepting calls on the soft phone, routing calls through IVRs. We covered so much. I don't see any questions coming in. So with that, thank you all for attending today. Sorry I was showing the wrong screen for a moment. This class is particularly hard because I have to flip back and forth so much. So thanks for letting me know. I don't see any questions coming in, so have a fantastic day, everyone. All of our friends on the East Coast, please be safe with the hurricane, and we look forward to speaking with you all tomorrow.